So I got Dr. Ben Carson on the phone again. He's called again, and if you missed the first show, if you missed last night's show, he was coaching Emily and Joe
doing
doing brain surgery, on doing surgery on me, and everything sort of fell apart. Dr. Carson, he was giving them a tutorial, a freebie, so hopefully we would encourage others to pay for his tutorial on brain surgery and separating conjoined twins and other kinds of cool stuff. But so now what he's doing, he's calling in and he's asking me, I got you on the line. I can't put it on speakerphone, but I'll let the audience know how the discussion goes. He is hawking these form-fitting hospital grounds because he said he noticed that at the end of the surgery, when I got off the table, my a certain chasm that's attached to me appeared miraculously as I climbed off the table. I think it's called a butt crack. Is that what you want to call it, or do you have a more
plumbers?
Do you have a term for it? Do you have a medical term for it? Is there some specific term we should use?
No.
He said no. He said you could just call it a butt crack. He said, but
gluteal cleft.
Gluteal cleft. Thank you. There you go. There you go. Gluteal cleft.
Yes.
Instead of massagical, gluteal cleft.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's a very polite way of putting it. So he says he's hawking. He's not. Well, no, he doesn't hawk things. He says he's promoting form-fitting hospital gowns, so that when you get off the table from your brain surgery, your gluteal cleft is not left open. Everything still remains to the imagination of people watching the surgery, and nothing exposed. So okay.
Thanks, doctor.
It's not. He says, now I'm finding out that I'm not even talking to Dr. Ben Carson. I'm talking to the person that Dr. Ben Carson could have been as a young man if he hadn't gotten some help from some government programs, and to help him, rise. He and his mom, his single mom, rise out of poverty and become the person that he became. This guy says he's Beavis. And that's the guy that Dr. Ben Carson could have been if not for the help that our federal government, through our taxpayers, provided for him. Well, okay, it's I'll take your word for it. You never know who you're going to get on the phone here.
Never know.
But you know what? Enough. Bernie Sanders. Let's talk about Bernie Sanders.
Who's he? Oh, Bernie Sanders. Right. Okay.
Political candidate, presidential
Political candidate. Yeah. This whole idea of a revolution, he's serious about that. He's really serious about a revolution.
How do we define this revolution, though? I mean, we think of revolution and, we think of Marco Rubio's father and mother coming to America to avoid the Castro revolution. And, of course, it turns out afterwards that they came here like 5 years before Castro even thought about starting the revolution. So, but what do you mean by revolution?
What do you mean by
statistic?
First of all, a revolution means you want to bring about a change.
Yeah.
And it's changed by people. But here's the catch on this one. And in order to do this, in order to actually have this revolution, you're going to have a vibrant democracy. This is the challenge. Bernie's got to kind of capture the attention and capture the minds of quite a lot of people in order to create a vibrant democracy. Like right now, we don't have a vibrant democracy. So the possibility of a revolution, a political revolution, is really a challenge.
Right.
In the last election, 63% of eligible voters didn't vote. 80% of young people that are eligible to vote don't vote.
That's problematic.
This is a pretty low consensus here.
Although I forget whether it was you or whether it was Miles that brought this up last time we got together, the notion that that if Bernie had just come along in 2008 after the market meltdown, after the economy had kind of fallen apart, that maybe that would have been a better time for him to come along as a candidate. I forget whether that was you or whether that was Miles who brought that up. And I thought about it afterwards, and I've kind of concluded that actually this is a better time than then for Bernie to come along, because back when the economy melted down, it was a lot of people lost their jobs very quickly, but a lot of them were fairly high-paying jobs. The ones that are falling through the cracks now, and they're working and not getting paid enough money to put a roof over their families' heads, to put food on the table, transportation to and from work, a lot of those are relatively low-paid workers. Those are minimum wage workers. And minimum wage, it ain't what it used to be. It used to be minimum wage was relative to what we have now is a lot more. So I think really there's a larger group of people that are in a state of mind to be really annoyed and get out there and vote their conscience and vote for somebody that offers a plan that will help them. And of course, by helping them, it helps the wealthy, because the wealthy are buoyed by the middle class, and it makes the wealthy better off. It may not make them wealthier, but it makes them, at least they've got people to sell their product to and their services to.
Well, I think there's a non-connect here.
Mm-hmm.
You have this low political drive.
Mm-hmm.
It's not, people are not exercising their right as American citizens, and this is pretty much the intent of the big power interests. They can capitalize further on the fact that there isn't a very strong and vibrant turnout.
Yeah.
A strong and vibrant turnout that can influence an election.
Yeah.
And maybe put a man of the people in the presidency.
Well, I think a lot of people feel, feel that their vote or when they protest doesn't make a difference. I mean, what happened in Newtown, we had that shooting, in Newtown, and people were going, protesting or doing demonstrations to change gun control laws. I mean, did anything really change?
In Connecticut, yes.
Yeah, things did change.
Not nationwide.
Right.
But in Connecticut, we have some very moderate gun control legislation now. It wasn't much change, but it was change enough so that from 2012 to 2014, the number of gun homicides in Connecticut in 2014 was half of what it was in 2012. So there's 60 or 70 people that might not have been alive had that law not been passed. And people I call them gun control deniers. They can say, well, no, there's no not necessarily connectivity between one and the other, but if gun deaths had stayed the same or had gone up, they would have been out there saying, see, the gun control legislation didn't work. So when we have that quantifiable improvement, sure, it gives us every right to say that, yes, it did make a difference.
So maybe people just have to care about something or get upset about something
okay, but it's got to be more than 37%.
Yeah,
right.
It's got to be a much larger percentage of people, because once the political advocate, the advocate. That's how I see Bernie Sanders, as an advocate of the people. Once that process, once it occurs, once he's in office, then things could happen. But if you don't have a larger voting, vibrant electorate, there's no way for him to really create the change that he wants to create, what's going to happen is, if it stays, eventually it's just going to slide deeper into the control of an oligarchy.
Yeah.
All right, and eventually it just falls into the hands of an oligarch. There's a limited number of people who vote. Okay, regardless of who's elected, we control those particular politicians. If there's going to be any legislation passed, it's going to have to be in the benefit of the big power interest, not necessarily of the people. They've been marginalized.
Isn't that one of the keys that Bernie's focusing on? His claim is that, like we saw with President Obama in 2008 and 2012, you had a lot of enthusiasm generated, and you had better turnouts than you had in previous elections. And Bernie's saying that if he's the candidate, he's the guy that can drum up the support that can get people excited, to get enough people excited to get out and get involved, get active, and ultimately vote.
If he can get past the primary,
well,
if he can get into the presidential debate, if he can be put on a stage with the Republicans, he can pretty much expose them for who they are, and he can get his message across to the people. It's still going to be an uphill fight, because the media itself is going to try to marginalize him, because he doesn't represent their interest, and their interest is the money which is behind them, and it's not an easy task.
And his reach outs are going to be more of an internet nature, and not as much money spent on corporate advertising as Hillary Clinton would, or any of the Republican candidates would. This is why the media makes such a big deal out of corporate contributions and corporate money, because they know ultimately a big chunk of that's going to them to pay for advertising.
Right. So they get money. The politicians get money, except Bernie. He doesn't accept any of the big money.
And yet he's got a large quantifiable amount of donations from a lot of different people.
Right, but the thing is,
a lot of small money donations.
But see, when you say things like that, some people might become complacent. He's still not there.
Right.
You know, he's still
We're early on.
Yeah, it's still early. You know, more support in terms of dollars have to come in from supporters and supporters that are becoming aware, because once he does get in, okay, he's going to reestablish Glass-Steagall. That's one of his ways of helping to break the big money power.
Right.
If you can reestablish Glass-Steagall, then it's going to put a crimp in some of their operations. You put Glass-Steagall in, and then you can establish community banks, credit unions, and now some of that financial power now is brought down and put into the communities. See, when it goes to Wall Street, it doesn't benefit anybody except, all right,
Wall Street.
Except Wall Street. So
I guess the point we're trying to make for anybody that's tuned in, that you want to get involved. Now is the time to get involved going forward, and to support a candidate that you think can represent you. And if that's Bernie Sanders, that's great.
Well, another thing too is that
and keep momentum going.
Yeah, and reestablish Glass-Steagall. There's the campaign finance reform. Okay, hold on now. You can't buy the politicians, okay, because you can't put that kind of money into their campaigns.
Yeah.
So that's another way he can control it. Like I said, prop up the community banks, support community banks. That puts more money back onto Main Street, back closer to, creates jobs for the middle class. They don't, Wall Street, and it doesn't do anything for the people here
We were talking about community last time on our last show together.
Community banks, yeah.
He says there that Wall Street's like an island unto itself.
Right.
You know, it's behavior too. It's reckless. It's destructive to the country.
Short-sighted,
and a lot of illegal activities go on, and all that kind of extreme speculating for increasing wealth. It's like I said, you know, it hurts people.
You know, when it comes
homes get foreclosed.
When it comes to economics, we are the real conservatives. We are the low key ones that want things to run in a conservative kind of way, not gambling money willy-nilly like Wall Street does, and taking a chance with our money and striking it rich. They strike it rich, they win. Any money they lose, they come looking to us for a bailout.
Yeah, that really wasn't fair. I mean, another approach would have been, hey, I'm sorry, you guys, that you've all failed, but there's just so much money we're going to give you to keep the ball going, and we got quite a bit of money that now we're going to have to put in the direction of some poor American citizens that have been crippled by your activities, but that didn't happen.
So Bernie came into power. Would he make sure that workers got proper treatment? And because I know as a massage therapist, you talked about steel workers. They work 12-hour days, 7 days a week, and unions stepped in. And as a massage therapist, there's companies where I think we're not really fairly treated. They don't really offer benefits. We can't work 40 hours because it's impossible to do that much work.
There are companies that hire them and pay them a very small portion of what the take is. And Kristen's told me the same thing.
Right.
That they'll pay the therapist a very low amount of money to do the work, and they're skimming off the top. They're skimming a fair amount of that off the top for allowing you to use their location and to bring you more customers.
Right, and
then you can get worn out by having to do so many massages in the course of a day.
Right, and people, we always say, we should unionize, and then no one ever does anything,
Yeah.
So would Bernie do something about fair? What would he do something about that?
First of all, if he did get in, first thing he's probably going to put in or try to put in a series of progressive legislation. He's got a progressive agenda right away. All right,
and it can accomplish a lot through executive
wage,
action. We found that out through many presidents now. It's only become a big deal with President Obama using executive action. Only you get this pushback from the other side about things that all presidents have done.
He could do that, but if he does win, all right, it's conceivable that he may have been able to garner or create a vibrant electorate that knows they have to stand by him. When issues come before Congress, there'll be demonstrations, there'll be people calling their congressmen, there'll be the people have to fight for their rights. The people have to come out and say in mass, wait a minute, you guys, you work for us, you don't work for them. Because those other politicians that he's going to have to work with, all right, they'll probably all be Democrats, by the way. His thinking on this is that if there's a big turnout and he does win, if he ever got into the presidential race, he'll be bringing a lot of Democrats with him. But just because they're Democrats doesn't necessarily mean they're going to work with him. That's the problem that Obama had.
It'd be a little quicker to strike out at and to be abrupt with legislators than President Obama was. He worked a little too hard to get us into a cooperating kind of frame that was never going to happen from the opposition.
When Barack Obama got into power, he was very confident that he could work with the Congress.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie knows, I get in, I'm going to have the same problem he does, therefore you got to be with me.
Right.
You elected me, I represent you, you got to be there.
And he'll have to be more aggressive in his approach to the Congress.
And if the Congress looks out the window and they sees, a large turnout of people with signs, okay, expand Medicare,
Right.
okay, stop Wall Street control.
Yeah, universal health care.
Okay, yeah, that's it, universal. Then what are they going to do? Believe me.
We'll have the tide hopefully going back in our direction.
How do you think the Vietnam War ended?
A lot of people.
A lot of people were out there protesting. They look out the window. It's like, are they gonna storm the building? Oh, we got to do something about this war. We got to end it one way or another. And it came to an end.
Well, what happened with Occupy Wall Street? Wasn't that
still there?
Supposedly,
it's still there, but for some reason or other,
right?
It never really.
What's different this time?
Well, I try to understand it in relation to the Tea Party movement.
Right.
The Tea Party movement aligned itself with the Republican Party, and they got a little bang for their buck. Whereas the Occupy Wall Street movement wanted to act more independently.
Correct.
And I just don't know how effective they were. I don't know if they were able to garner enough support and enough influence to really make a dent. I think it's more of a David and Goliath routine, but this is a castrated David trying to put down a Goliath, and they may still be out there, but apparently haven't been very effective.
Well, keep in mind though that they're not going to get the splash of publicity that the Tea Party movement is going to get.
Right.
So a lot of it's not that they're not doing anything and not being effective. A lot of it is that they're not getting any media coverage of what's happening.
But even if they did get coverage, even if they did come back, the media is just going to turn it into another soap opera for entertainment.
Well, I'm not sure
Look what they're doing.
I'm not sure if they ever went away.
Do they have enough toilets to accommodate all these people?
I'm not sure if they ever really went away.
So got mugged. Somebody else got stabbed. Yeah. They'll capitalize on the sensational, and the people will wonder, what are they there for? Can we get rid of them?
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
5 minutes.
Over? 5? Oh,
Yeah.
5 minutes?
Yeah.
Jeez. Okay.
The voice of God has
All right.
spoken.
5 minutes. 5 minutes more on Bernie Sanders. Okay. Let me see if I can.
So what do you think it would take for it to become another, Vietnam, people, protesting? What do you think the American people are capable of that?
There's something that there are times, and there's the right time, and the right person.
Mm-hmm.
And the right person is usually a charismatic person.
Right.
All right, so you got the charismatic person at the right time in history, okay? And believe it or not, changes could take place.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So Hitler was a charismatic character at a certain time, and changes took place, but they were not good.
Or Mussolini was.
Mussolini unfortunately fell in with Hitler, but that's a whole story.
The trains ran on time, but unfortunately they ran over a lot of people.
But here's the thing: back in 1775, 74, 76, you had men, like Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, John Adams, Ben Franklin. These guys, were political geniuses.
And they're pretty well-to-do people, and yet they stood up for the regular folks.
They did stay up for the regular folks, but still, there was still a conservative and a liberal. But those terms weren't really appropriate for the time. But people like Alexander Hamilton, I believe it was he, felt that the wealthy had a larger stake in the government, and therefore they should be given considerations over the rest of the people. And eventually, that idea seemed to have waned, and the idea of a government for the people and by the people, which was expressed by Abraham Lincoln.
Right.
You know. So it's possible if certain things fall into place, but it's one difficult climb. You know, once again, it's the David and Goliath scenario. But Bernie Sanders, okay, he's armed, he's intelligent.
Right.
You know, if he can get by certain obstacles,
right,
and find himself in the presidency, he will definitely be a politician for the people. And that's what we need right now.
Exactly.
Hillary Clinton is not, in my opinion, the best possible option.
Right.
All right. She's very pragmatic. What she thinks might be in her best interest on one particular day, she'll advocate for that. When she finds out that that wasn't the best possible position at a later date, well, she'll switch. You know,
which is the consummate thing
gay marriage,
about politicians in general that people find offensive.
Yeah, but see, Bernie, he was pretty consistent from the beginning.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah,
he was against the war in Iraq, and the rationale that he gave for it, we can see it right now.
Yeah. And he ended up being right about everything.
As far as he's concerned, equal rights,
right,
blacks, gay people.
Yep.
You know,
1 minute to go, boys and girls.
Whoa!
Wow!
Hey,
you know, voice of God is spoken.
I've been in restaurants before that kind of limited the time that you could actually spend in the restaurant, especially if they had a buffet or something. But this is the first time. This is the first time. Is that Donald Trump up there trying to kick us out?
Well, if we got one more minute, I think one of the most significant things I could say right now as to Sanders and Hillary is this whole Glass-Steagall thing.
Yeah.
All right, not only does Bernie Sanders want to bring Glass-Steagall back and create community banks and credit unions as opposed to the big, strong, powerful banks that are running things.
Drinks on the Lido deck, 30 seconds.
All right, but he also, you know, and as far as Hillary is
on
concerned,
a cruise ship. Is that what the Lido deck is? Yeah.
All right, Hillary is she is not strong enough against the Wall Street corporate and insurance powers. So I think that the American people should really keep that in mind. She's a woman. She is good. She's strong, but not strong enough. Not the kind of strength that the country needs, and that kind of strength they're only going to see right now in Bernie Sanders.
So let's stay focused on Bernie and keep moving in the right direction.
Thanks, Joey.
Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much
for joining us. See you next time. Bye. Thank you.